NASFUND commended for exceptional performance. Restoration Bill passed by Parliament. And teacher attacked by student in Madang.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for today's news. Despite tough economic times, the private sector has been commended for being the backbone of the economy. Deputy Prime Minister and Treasurer Charles Abel made these remarks when addressing NASFUND's employer conference in Port Moresby. He said despite tough economic times, NASFUND's performance was exceptional, with the fund continuing to perform positively.
Was going to be in four main areas.
On the back of its recent announcement of 2017 financial results, the board and management of NASFUND today met with employers to provide background to how the fund's results were achieved. Deputy Prime Minister and Treasurer Charles Abel provided the keynote address highlighting the key role played by the private sector. He said the government was looking to create an environment to grow the private sector, which has been described as the engine room of the economy.
Because we need to grow the private sector, we need to accumulate savings as part of the financial system, and so the government has got to make sure that we've got necessary provisions that encourage savings and reward those that do.
Treasurer Abel also reassured those present that government would be there to support the private sector.
We stand ready to work together for the benefit of Papua New Guinea and our members.
NASFUND Chief Executive Officer Ian Tarutia spoke of the fund's results over the last 5 years. He said despite challenging economic times, strategic investments in strong areas continued to reap rewards for contributors. The fund's performance, guided by a 5-year plan from the years 2013 to 2018. He added that the board of NASFUND would soon be developing the next 5-year plan to chart the way forward.
The board will be convening a strategy workshop to start mapping out the next 5 years. These are important times. These are key times now as we enter the next phase of our country's history.
Among key growth areas for NASFUND, the potential that exists within the non-extractive industry. And with the government's focus on agriculture, there is potential for further growth in this particular sector.
I'd like to think that there are opportunities in the non-extractive sector, in the sector that you all represent. Agriculture, I believe, is an untapped area, or an area that we haven't fully utilized in terms of organic growth, new members, new employers.
Mr. Tarutia has also hinted at further innovation, with the fund keen on improving its offering to the more than 500,000 contributors around the country.
There's conversation around new products, new services to members. Insurance has been talked about for some time. How do we do it? Is it necessary? It is. How do we make it work without imposing extra cost on you, the members, and the employers?
Governor-General Grand Chief Sebob Dadai today welcomed the Netherlands ambassador to Papua New Guinea. Ambassador Mrs. Erika Schouten presented her letter of credence at Government House this morning. In welcoming Ambassador Schouten, Sebob also acknowledged the development assistance given by the Netherlands through the European Union under the Cotonou Agreement. Ambassador Schouten passed on King Willem Alexander's condolences on behalf of the government and the people of the Netherlands to the victims of the recent earthquake disaster. The Waigani National Court has adjourned a case between prominent lawyer Paul Paraka and 16 other defendants. The case relates to the alleged 72 million kina paid to his law firm, which Mr. Paraka is now claiming substantial compensatory damages. The case was adjourned to the 10th of April.
5 years after Paul Paraka was arrested and charged by then the task force sweep team, Mr. Paraka has surfaced at the court to speak for himself. Paraka is in court to claim substantial damages done to him and his law firm. He says by all means he will face those who have tarnished his reputation.
I waited for them to fire the bullets. I wanted them to exhaust the bullets. And their bullets have all been exhausted, fired up and exhausted. They got nothing left out there. The allegation against me was only a single allegation that somehow there was a court restraining order that prevented the payments to Paraka lawyers. And when in fact that is a bunch of complete lie. There's never been any restraining order.
The owner of one of the largest law firms in the country says he has 100 grounds to challenge those who have spoken against him. He says since his arrest in 2013, he has left government authorities to make the point of the allegations. The case is now being adjourned to Tuesday, 10th April 2018.
They spoke and the nation heard them, and now it's the beginning of Paraga that's going to speak, and I want a nation, a captive audience out there going to speak, hear Paraga up, and they're going to say...
The case relates to services rendered by the Paraka law firm in excess of 6,000 legal briefs out for the state over a period of 7 years, commencing the year 2000. Over that period, nearly 30,000 legal invoices were rendered to the state and paid for. Jack Lapava Jr., National MTV News.
A 26-year-old man from Hela province has been charged with 2 counts of being in possession of an unlicensed firearm and live ammunition in Tari. The suspect has been remanded and has appeared before the district court this morning. One Mossberg shotgun belonging to the Mount Hagen-based mobile squad 7 members was also recovered by Tari police yesterday. It is one of 4 high-powered weapons stolen at Nogoli camp from MS7. Hela Provincial Police Commander Martin Lakari said Hela police have been engaged in a special operation to restore normalcy after the recent 7.5 magnitude earthquake. Lakari said police will arrest and charge people who are in possession of unlicensed firearms within the province. The East New Britain Tourism Authority has responded to a landowner's threat issued last week to temporarily close 3 ideal tourism locations in the area. CEO Gad Reason says they are facilitating tourism activities and not being involved in sorting out landowner disputes. This comes after the Tobebe Tovalingan Ratagul ILG, the landowners of Rabaul town, claimed they haven't been consulted in any tourism activities on their customary land.
East New Britain has recently become one of the tourism hotspots in the country. However, as more tourists flocked into the province, so other issues relating to land ownership also emerges. Last week, the Tobebe Tovalingan Ratagul indigenous landowner group of Rabaul demanded an explanation from the Tourism Authority and its partners over what they claimed as an act of greed done by the tour operators. But the CEO of the East New Britain Tourism Authority, Gad Reason, responded to that concern but said otherwise.
Most of the operators now are all registered in our database, and there's a few that have sprung up over a couple of years or maybe just very recently that are not registered. But sure, if they are bringing people to a site and they are not registered, then that's a concern.
The landowners have since issued a warning that they will close down 3 ideal tourist locations situated on their customary land, Mount Tavurvur, the Hot Springs and Mount Kabiu. The East New Britain Tourism Authority, however, have sidelined itself from the debate but called on the landowners to sort themselves out as the issue rests with the Lands Department and not the Tourism Authority.
The office stayed away from it because we don't want to be seen to be in any group. We want to be in a neutral position.
The Tobebe Tovalingan Ratagul landowner group is a registered group. Since 2015, the ILG has since become the mouthpiece for the 3 major clans of Rabaul town, with the main focus of developing landowners' business interests.
So all by paying fee bills, so you go to East New Britain Tourism Authority, deal with them ILG kisim na by giving me to go down long all custodian long all area where all sites is start long.
It is understood while the ILG claim to represent the interest of the majority of the villagers, there are some clan members who don't want to be part of the group, as there are uncertainties if whether or not they will be able to benefit from the income that will be generated every time a tourist ship berths in Rabaul. The East New Britain Tourism Board has called on the village leaders to conduct village awareness on the issues relating to land ownership as well as the distribution of income benefits. But unless there is an awareness done in the villages, the tussle will continue. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
Locals in the Munglamp area of Day Electorate in Western Highlands Province have taken the initiative to build their own high school. Last Friday, the locals started clearing the land and setting up building foundations. They have contributed money and materials, hoping to have their first grade 9 classes begin next year.
The locals at Killing Village said they desperately need a high school which will benefit more than 10,000 people in 20 council wards. They say they do not have a nearby high school for their children to attend. The locals have been walking distance to other schools in the electorate for too long, and they are building their own school. Muglamp local level government president John Wamp said Western Highlands provincial government have recognized their interest in building the school.
Leadership long governor vice wing where I'm looking this need now I'm supply all material now all something where by me play no not long afford him line.
The school after completion will be named as Hagen North Provincial High School. This will add to the 24 high schools in the province, an initiative of the Western Highlands provincial government to support locals to build their own high schools. The locals have given their land for free to build new schools. They have also provided free labor, timber and other materials to build the school with some help from the provincial government.
No got money, I'm now country got problem money too now. No got money give him. But Mibla, yet Mibla is strong long working class school now. Mibla is him on resource blue Mibla. Azem long Katim Dewai blue Mibla give him free, ground Mibla give him free. Where Mibla like him school by come up.
The locals have given up politics and tribal fight to build a new school for their children. They are beginning to see the importance of education. Their appeal is for the Education Board to recognize their school. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
You're watching National MTV News. Among stories after the break, Tusbab High School teacher attacked, bail granted for 7 policemen, and training in Western Highlands to address gender inequality. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back to the news. A partnership between the government of Papua New Guinea and the government of India and the United Nations Development Programme will increase the capacity of ICT in the country. The University of Papua New Guinea is the implementing agency of the government of PNG. The facility will form the Centre for Excellence in Information Technology and will result in a model learning environment including education software, curriculum and teaching facilities. Construction of the CEIT will start in April and the facilities are expected to be open for the next academic year in 2019. The 7 policemen accused of killing a suspect in Port Moresby have been released on 1,000 kina bail by the National Court this afternoon. The grounds for bail include personal safety while being remanded at Bomana and the lack of evidence against the 7. The accused were arrested between March the 8th and 12th and are charged for 1 count of murder each. Because of the seriousness of the charge, they were initially refused police bail. The matter is being investigated by the Police Criminal Investigation Division.
The 7 accused police officers are members of the NCD Task Force Unit and are all between the ages of 24 and 27. It is alleged that on the 3rd of February this year, the 7 had picked up Brian Lucas at a rugby oval in Port Moresby. Lucas was wanted for a break-and-enter incident which allegedly occurred in December 2017. The court heard that Lucas was tortured and assaulted before he was taken to the Boroko police station. At the station, Lucas had complained of pain and requested that he be brought to a hospital for a medical checkup. The 7 then brought Lucas to a hospital, but he was pronounced dead on arrival. The 7 had told the security guard at that hospital that Lucas was an escapee and was shot dead by CS members.
This afternoon, the 7 submitted that they were police officers and should not be remanded at the Bomana prison because their lives would be at risk. They also submitted that there was not enough evidence to link them to the murder charge. But the state objected to their bail applications on the grounds that the charge was serious and bail should not be granted. However, Justice George Mahunu was of the view that 7 extra men at Bomana prison would mean the prison would need more food ration and the prison had already limited accommodation space. Justice Mahunu granted each a National Court bail of 1,000 kina on the conditions that they do not interfere with investigations and remain in NCD until their case completes committal proceedings. Taklagunga, National MTV News.
The deputy principal of Madang's Tusbab Secondary School was attacked at around midday after he tried to intervene in a fight between grade 10 students. Mr. Timothy Down told MTV from his hospital bed that a grade 10 male student attacked him. He says this is the first time such an incident has occurred at the school, adding that the alleged male student was a problem student from Madang Christian Academy before transferring to Tusbab. Police have been notified of the problem and are now investigating.
Mr. Timothy Downs said earlier today he had dispatched a number of male students hanging around outside of their classrooms. He had told them to attend classes as they were mulling around trying to start a fight, while other students obeyed Mr. Downs' instructions and went into their classrooms. One particular student refused. After 2 attempts, Mr. Down had to slap him to get him into class and away from starting a fight. From information collected from Mr. Down, the student went into the classroom but came out again swearing.
When go karab lo bus, orangnya lo bus 60 bus dia kerap satu. Penuh tu am bawa sim mana magnum longan nakam. Mana kan man bekar magnum nakam.
Mr. Downs says the morning's incident reached the father of the student who then went to the school to question him when distressed students started running around in the school premises.
I'm going Pablo me. Aram tertutup na Pablo mga kamar. Mitla sana tutup stabi on mangilo grade 9 10 or run number. Sangkar bus na mantem kami. So mitla pita mantem run jagim.
That was when the particular student attacked him with a knife. Mr. Down was rushed to the Modilon General Hospital for treatment. He is now admitted at the intermediate ward receiving medical treatment and will be going into operation. Meanwhile, Mr. Down says termination of the student would not be possible at this time. This is because the school has no board in place since 2013 and would not be able to make that decision. The school administration, however, can only give an open transfer to the student concerned. Martha Lewis, National MTV News, Madang.
Speaking at a training for gender equality and social inclusion, or GESI, policy in Mount Hagen, a senior public servant said illiteracy in understanding contributes to gender inequality. William Iwa, the Director for Corporate Services in the Western Highlands Provincial Government, said schools must be teaching gender equality to educate the next generation.
The senior public servant said the national government and the education department should emphasize and promote gender equality in all levels of education for PNG to prosper in social services. Mr. Iwa said PNG is so accustomed to our culture, tradition and beliefs, and these are barriers to the change. Iwa, who attended the Gender Equity and Social Inclusion or GESI training hosted by the Department of Personnel Management, said it is the way forward for change.
Education department and all the government departments should be focusing on education system and promote gender equality in education level and then down to the departments of the government system.
GESI is a policy incepted in 2013 under the Personnel Management Act to address gender inequality at the bureaucratic level. Since coined, similar workshops were conducted in other provinces to discuss with senior provincial administration the policy and making public service equal to all genders. GESI coordinator Emmanuel Guinness said there are social issues at the public service level and this policy can help reduce it.
The entire public service to be sensitized about gender and socially inclusive issues that experienced in the workplace, the public service workplace. Also within the communities that we work in. How do we ensure that we are inclusive in our services that we provide?
With the support of the Australian DFIRT, the department is able to come out to the Highlands for the first time to conduct this workshop and awareness. After the workshop, the team will do a profile to identify the provincial government's weakness in gender equality issues and help them to find way forward. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The government's goal is to provide quality education for every child through the tuition fee-free education policy. According to Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra, there are now 2.2 million children in schools because of the investment in this policy. However, with this growth, there are now the struggles of delivering quality education for these students.
The national education ratio of teacher to students each class is 1 teacher is to 30 students. Since the introduction of the government's tuition fee-free education policy in 2011, the number of students in a class has risen to 50. Most schools are facing financial difficulties in building classrooms to cater the increased number of students. West Goroka Primary School in Eastern Highlands Province is one example.
We are having over-enrollment in all the classes. So this year we have 6 stream, everybody, all classes, over 60, 70 students in each class, 6 stream, grade 3 to grade 8.
According to the department's 2016 data, there are 12,318 schools in the country with over 2 million students and 58,285 teachers. The Department of Education receives 3 billion kina every year for education, which is a portion of 20 billion kina of the national budget for the education sector. Dr. Comber said in his presentation during the National Planning Consultative Summit last week that the government aims to invest more in human capital.
Looking at the returns of what we invest in education, for every child that we add a year of education to his or her life, there is a 10% return in private and social benefits. There's a 10% increase in the returns. For every girl that we educate at the secondary school level, you can be assured by research that there is a 25% return for herself, for a family, for the country.
Dr. Comber has called on the government departments and higher authorities to work together to help manage the national ratio of 1 teacher to 30 students in each class.
For words, I believe we should give them the responsibility of building elementary schools and the early childhood education component. We give that responsibility to LLGs and wards to do that. The LLGs and districts, we give them the responsibility of primary schools and food study centers. I'll come to food very soon, but food study centers. Provincial governments concentrate on senior high schools or senior high schools and senior high schools, grade 7 to 10, or 12, sorry, and vocational training centers.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
Still to come on the news, the restoration bill to address earthquake-affected provinces passed by Parliament. We'll have that and more after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill introduced the restoration bill to the special parliament sitting today, which was passed on voices. Mr. O'Neill said the cries of the people have been heard and the restoration committee will be established for 4 years and will function for 4 years due to the special case of the natural disaster, which has affected 4 provinces.
The public gallery was full to witness the passing of the restoration bill that will allow the setup of a committee for the next 4 years. It was unanimously passed at 4:30 this afternoon. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, in his address to Parliament on the earthquake, said it was the worst to hit in the Highlands region in the last 100 years.
Causing more damage and terrifying our people. Mr. Speaker, this is the first earthquake of this magnitude in the Highlands for almost 100 years. There is no living memory of the last earthquake that took place in 1921. When this earthquake ate our people and were shocked, mountains collapsed, villages buried, our rivers were blocked with debris.
He said more than 116 people are confirmed dead. He thanked all countries and development partners involved in the relief effort.
We can respond as best as we can with the interest of saving lives and, of course, providing relief efforts. Mr. Speaker, in the aftermath of what has happened, we have seen a rapid response from all sectors, from our government, private sectors, NGOs, our church groups, and our private sector partners, Mr. Speaker, especially, let me mention a few of them in particular. Oil Search in particular has been outstanding in the way Peter Bolton and his team mobilized to deliver relief and save lives.
The Prime Minister went on to give an update on restoration of infrastructure and roads.
Mr. Speaker, on roads and bridges, significant progress has been made, especially the Highlands Highway from Mount Hagen to Tari is now opened. Road blockages have been cleared by Department of Works and our PNG Defence Force. A convoy of 12 trucks have reached Tari with much needed food and water. This has been followed by further 6 trucks on the 13th of March 2018.
In terms of financing of the Restoration Committee, the PM has thanked Australia for the long-term funding and also stated the government will be receiving a US $3 million loan from ADB.
Thankful for support that we got from Pogara joint venture, almost over 6 million kina. Our own companies within the business community have contributed quite a substantial amount of money as well. We also got we are seeking the release of the committed US $3 million from ADB as grant assistance. That should be available in the next few days.
The Prime Minister also thanked citizens who have dug deep into their pockets and deposited to the relief account.
1 million kina in the account. The committed funds from ADB, Japan and others are yet to come. And of course for the Kumul Petroleum. So we have got a sufficient amount of money to keep going for the next 3 months. But also the public are still continuing to contribute to that account, and we are thankful for their support in this time of need from our people.
Parliament was adjourned to 10th of April. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National, EMTV News.
Still in Parliament, Opposition Leader Patrick Pruach expressed his dismay with the national government's slow response to the disaster. Pruach said the 2018 national budget has funds allocated for emergency disasters, but the government did not act quickly to help those affected. The opposition leader urged the government to improve capacity of government agencies who deal directly when disasters strike.
With the special recall of Parliament today, the opposition leader expressed frustration over government's slow response to disasters. The Aitapelumi MP questioned why the 2018 budget had funds available for disaster but was not used adequately.
Disappointing for national government to rely on private sector to come in. Yes, they will come in because they're corporate citizen. But national government must come. Prime Minister must go na ito kay money belong hela mikaramikam. Money belongs sa mikaramikam. I think national government must take the bold step to ensure that it is upfront in terms of making funding available.
He says any funding available must be used urgently when disaster strikes. It took the national government and state agencies nearly 11 days to respond to the recent earthquake, which killed over 80 people and injuring 100. The opposition leader says when people are affected, help must be sought.
Okay, it is fair for national government to take in and talk about accountability, transparency, and too much talk about money. Our people need restoration. They need food first. They need water.
Finance Minister James Marape responded following Pruach's outburst. He says the government should learn from this disaster and improve its capabilities in addressing disaster-related issues.
We need to be cognizant to the fact that we live in a time in Earth history where disaster will continue to grow. We need to have systems of government prepared, ready to be on the run, on call as soon as a disaster has hit.
Parliament has been adjourned to Tuesday, April 10th. Jack Lapava Jr. National EMTV News.
Seventh-day Adventist churchgoers in Mendi, Southern Highlands Province, prepared cooked food and fed the police, defence, health workers and public servants at the disaster centre recently. This is part of the food ministry and community service to the hardworking staff at the disaster centre. Many Adventists in Hela and Southern Highlands were victims of the 7.5 magnitude earthquake which happened last month. They say they will find other ways to support them as well. Here with National EMTV News, we go for a break now. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with Rugby League. Giru Wagi Tumbe has named its squad for this year's 2018 Intercity Cup competition. It consists of 27 members. The squad was finalised following the successful Governors' Cup tournament held on the weekend. It is coached by Francis Ray and assisted by Ma Wus. They will have the first training session tomorrow in Mount Hagen. The Intercity Cup competition is set to kick off in April. To shooting now, and the Shooting Association of PNG will have 3 competitors at the 2018 Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast. The trio, Tanya Mari in the women's air pistol, Daniel Wanma and Angus Donald in the men's trap event. Shane Saroya caught up with them before their departure.
Tanya Mari, Angus Donald and Daniel Wanma are 3 of the best shooters in the country at the moment, boasting numerous international feats for PNG, with the most notable achievements were at the 2015 Pacific Games.
So my event is the distance of 10 meters. I'll be using an air pistol where we use pellets, pellets as a bullet.
Though it will be Tanya's debut appearance at the Commonwealth Games, she will compete in the same event she won silver in at the 2015 Pacific Games.
And the target's very small, which is like 10 meters away. We'll be doing 40 shots, so and out of that, so it's out of 400, how many shots, so you know the middle is 10 points, so yeah.
Tanya's accumulative points in the qualifying event has earned her a shot at the 2018 Commonwealth Games. With vigorous training and preparation, the 2015 Pacific Women's Sport Pistol Champion is deeming self-confidence.
This has been a privilege. I guess for me, this is my first event to the Com Games, so I'm looking forward and definitely experience for me, yeah.
For Daniel and Angus, shooting at the single trap event is nothing new for the pair. Danny trains mostly in Australia and competed in numerous state and national championships, with his most recent event, the 2017 World Masters Games.
The World Champions are irrelevant. You go there as an individual, the clay comes out, the World Champions got nothing to do with it. It's yourself, your shotgun, the bullet you got on it, your technique. So as long as you get it all right and you keep getting those 25s, before you know it, you're in the finals. So for me, I think we shouldn't really focus on who's world champion. But as Angus said, you know, the regulars are England and India occasionally, Australia as well. But I think for us, we're the world champions. Let's go try and do it ourselves. Try and get the gold medals. Why not? So that's my sort of focus and objective, is to go out there and do my best. Absolutely best. Nothing but the best.
While Angus, the boy prodigy in the 2001 Arafura Games at the age of 12, has come of age, competing at the number of regional and international championships abroad. Angus had an Olympic qualifying score of 113 of 125 and is currently ranked 8th in the Oceania men's trap. The Mastermark aims to shoot his best and better that record against Commonwealth's top contenders.
Games more, for me, would be more of a learning curve and gain more international exposure. And you know, competition-wise, you're competing against some of the world's best. You know, world number ones from Australia, tough competition from New Zealand, as well as through India and England. So all the Commonwealth countries there is a lot of tough competition. But you know, hopefully we come out on top and just try our best.
The shooting team departs for Brisbane early tomorrow, with the competition to be held at the Belmont Shooting Complex in Brisbane. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Still on shooting, taking part in international events and training with some of the best in the world gives an edge to our top shooters. This according to President of PNG Shooting, Mel Donald.
The guys, our team, are shooting Olympic qualifying scores, which puts them in a very good position to actually make the finals at the Commonwealth Games. And of course, when you make the finals, and then everything is possible.
Tanya is in training here. Is 2 points off the minimal qualifying score as well for the Olympics. And we feel that by going down the team goes tomorrow, and then up until our shooting dates, we can expect to see big improvements at the Belmont range, the new range. So going in there, feeling the facility, getting used to it, puts us in very good position. Yeah.
Back to Rugby League. Port Moresby Rugby League has started its season proper, which will continue for the next 25 weeks. Competition Administrator Meke Mano says players are expected to encounter a few changes made to this year's competition. With 14 affiliated clubs, the competition will have 14 A grade and under 20 teams, with female competition to begin this weekend.
Mino says while it's the longest running Premier League event in the country, this year marks its 69th season consecutively and 58 years of annual sponsorship by SP Buri.
The 2018 season marks the 69th year of consecutive delivery of rugby league for Port Moresby Rugby League, which adopted a change of name from the old Papuan Rugby League. So this is the 69th season and consecutively. And also 58 years of partnership with SP Brewery. So you can see it's a side-by-side walkabout between the league and the sponsor. It's been a very long time.
To better run the competition, a new format will be used, generated by a computer system.
In the past 4 years, we've maintained the 14 club competition. And the board and the delegates also adopted a top 8 finals format, even though the constitution says 50%.
With 14 affiliated clubs, a top 8 final format, which was agreed in the AGM, will be used to run at the end of the competition.
But we are back to the regular 26-round competition now, 13 games in the first round and then 13 games in the second round. And then the 4 weeks of finals that would normally take us up to September for the grand final, which coincides with the Prime Minister's 13. That's at the main field. We're already in the second week. Up to now, only 2 teams are undefeated. That's Magani and our defending premiers, Black Swan International Royals.
This year's season started well a fortnight ago despite disruptions from weather and other suburban league competitions.
When the DCL Cup, the next level competition was introduced in this country, and then the Hunters program has been introduced and all that, we contribute a lot of our players. So, and once again we saw it in the Women World Cup last year. We contributed majority of the women in the World Cup last year, and that's the kind of thing, our leaguers and I can say on behalf of the board and the clubs, we're really proud for that.
Port Moresby Rugby League competition has produced players to the Digicel Cup, SP Hunters and Rugby League World Cup.
Got the under-20 to start last week and again this week. Hopefully the board will give us the all clear to run a full three division competition next week to include the women competition. That's from next week onwards.
Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
We'll go for a break now and be back with some game fishing after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To game fishing now and 3 days in, and the numbers coming through for tags and captures for the 43rd National Game Fishing titles are starting to increase. As of this morning, overall, there have been 50 tagged blue marlin, 6 weighed blue marlin, 1 tagged black marlin, and 1 tagged sailfish. Judah Memafu with the details.
Well, day 3 of the 43rd National Game Fishing Titles here in Ley Morbid Province, and wow, it's been an interesting couple of days, but nothing like today. Drug Runner was on fire today.
Stand back, stand back, stand back, stand back. Move, move. Stand in that corner there. Move. Alright, wrap him up. Pull him round to the left, other side, Hubba. Down that side. That's it, yep. Keep him coming. That's it, nice kicks. Pull him in, don't let him go into the boat.
And a few of the other boats as well. Black Label definitely in the lead with the numbers that they're bringing in today. The tagging is off the charts.
Oh mate, it's going to Brisbane, I'm telling you now. It's going to Fiji and it's going to Brisbane.
Well, some special things are happening today, and I'm here with the new record holder for the national junior record here in PNG. Blake, talk to me. What's going through your head right now?
Yeah, it was a pretty good feeling, a new national record, only by less than a kilo, so it was pretty close.
Yeah, so when you hooked it up, what was going through your head?
Yeah, we weren't quite sure what it was yet until came up and started dancing behind the boat. Then it took about an hour to get to the boat. Yeah.
Right now, is the buzz still there, or is it?
An excitement still there. It's good.
All right, it was a good story to go and tell your mates after this.
Yeah, it'd be an excellent story to go tell everyone about. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? You might land another one tomorrow?
Yeah, we're going out to Tammy tomorrow, so hopefully get a few more and keep on top of the competition.
Sweet. Now talk to me. Who were you with? What boat were you on? Was there anyone guiding you through as you were reeling it in?
Yeah, we got a decky from Gold Coast, Shane. He's been good, and in my crew is Finn and Mac. Yeah, so we're going pretty well so far, and the second day is tomorrow.
Again, great numbers. We had 22 marlin tagged. Majority of that were from Tammy Island, and from 4 boats that did the 50 nautical mile one trek. There was 22 tagged and 3 marlin weighed. So the numbers, again, better than we expected. I think in the past, the titles tournaments have tagged 40 to 50 marlin over the 9 days, and in 3 days we've already passed that number. So great numbers, great fishing, and it's just created more of an atmosphere for the club and the tournament so far.
Well, all in all, this day will definitely go down as one to remember. I can't wait for what's going to be happening tomorrow and the day after as well. Judo Memafu, National EMTV Sports, Ley.
To football abroad now, and the Socceroos will face a massive step up in class tomorrow morning against Colombia in London. But after a disappointing loss to Norway, the Aussies believe they can surprise the world number 13.
With players flying in from all over the world, preparing for a friendly is never easy for an Australian side. It's even harder when these players have had less than a week under new coach Bert van Marwijk. They're coming up against Colombia, ranked 13 in the world. They'll play here at English club Fulham's home ground, Craven Cottage, coming off a 4-1 loss to Norway on the weekend, a loss the coach admits was disappointing.
You have to be disappointed when you lose, and especially with 4-1. But we have to go on. It's not the end of the world.
The Dutchman says he's keen to see as many players on the pitch as possible, including all 3 of Australia's goalkeepers, with just 3 matches remaining before the World Cup in Russia.
He played the first game, 90 minutes, and now the other 2 goalkeepers will play here tomorrow, 45 minutes each.
Australia's greatest ever goal scorer, Tim Cahill, admits the players are having to adapt.
When you transition into new management and you only have a short space of time, the reality of it is more about getting to know each other.
It's a stop-start preparation for the Socceroos ahead of the World Cup. After this match, they'll go back to their clubs, then gather together once again in Turkey for their final training camp ahead of the World Cup.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. We'll go for a break. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. A shower or two expected all across the region in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerama, Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momase region, showers expected in Lae and Madang as well as in Wibak and Vanimo. Showers and rain for Wau. To the New Guinea Islands region, Lorangau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka can expect showers over the next 24 hours. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect showers over the next 24 hours with morning fog.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's a news, sport and weather for today, Tuesday, the 27th of March 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.